Hello fellow mech boys, and in today's episode I'm going to be making my version of a 90s Gaz. So what I want to kind of achieve with this project is I love the look, I love old Gaz, I love that old style, I even like that paint job that they used to throw in the old codex. But he needs to be bigger, he needs a big base, and he needs to like represent what modern Gaz represents. So here's what we're going to be using for 3D printed models. I found the Gaz on Thingiverse. All these little guys are from Gear Guts Mech Shop. Those are some printer settings if you want to see what I use, but they're pretty standard for clear resin. And that's what we're going to kind of try to encompass what he's going to represent on the tabletop. Base size, weapons, and here's a little sneak peek of what he turned out to be with his force. So, first things first, I kind of skipped the process of putting all them models on the base. This is that nice big Gaz base. This one was one I think I had some Sisters of Battles files from, so it's an old ruined floor from like a cathedral. And then, you know, basing materials, threw some gravel on there, some sand, a lot of chopped up sprues for the bricks, primered the whole thing nice, you know, put a little bit of white where it needed it. But then on all the things that are metallic, I did a nice dry brush of lead belcher. So starting off, you know, some base colors, some base coats. The 90s Codex art kind of confuses me for Gaz's color palettes. He's kind of represented as a blood axe, and I know the red. I don't know. It could kind of be goth looking. I guess maybe the goths had more red in their color palette back in the day, but that's more of a blood axe thing nowadays, and especially when it comes to the weapons he has. The blades are painted black, and I know in the lore of the blood axes, you know, they paint all their blades black so they don't glint in the moonlight and stuff. So he's I use him as a goth because he has to be, but in this he's kind of represented as a blood axe. So we're just gonna kind of go with the 90s theme and do all the bases red, the outcroppings, a nice brass color, little fur on the top of his helmet, you know, a little piece of fur. And now to the greens. I'm just using the Citadel Moot Green. Him, all the Gretchen, nothing fancy. And then we're just going to build up the color after putting the wash. We'll take the same color, lighten it up just a hair, and then relight everything again once the paint's nice and thin. And then we'll do this step a couple times, and you know, we'll get that really nice bright transition of green on those orks and gobos. Insert meme here. On the 90s art of this guy, he has a very intricate checker pattern on his pauldrons, and in the original art it is 3 wide, and how that original artist got 3 wide checkerboard on that tiny 25mm based original Gaz, I have no freaking clue. So I'm doing it 2 wide, and my guy is big. Okay, now for some washes. Pretty standard Nuln Oil. This is just a custom mix Nuln Oil. If you've ever seen Midwinter Minis, the Nuln Oil he makes is really good. I like how it gets in the recesses and it's not too strong. And here, after it dried a little bit, I'm just correcting all the little white bits that I don't like that I covered up. And we're good to go again. Now, details. There are so many rivets and handles and little bars and earrings, well, lip rings. So that's what this step is. Just getting all the little bits. Kind of switching up putting aluminum colors on the brass pieces and vice versa. And there are a lot of skulls on Gaz, so what I did was just put some ivory white, and then as it dried, I went over with that skeleton contrast paint from Citadel. I really do like that skeleton contrast paint for skulls. It's a nice, perfect brown color. It makes it look worn. It gets in there. Really good. And then for all the little bright bits, like the TV screen and, and the goggles on little Squig, I just did the Tesseract Glow from the same Citadel contrast paint line. So now it's just detail time. Little edges, lots of little pieces of ivory, some edge highlights, some things I missed. With a really pretty complex model like this, I think it just takes time to really grab all the individual bits, do every edge you see, do every piece, every little skull, every tiny little rivet, even though it just seems like a pain in the butt. That's what kind of makes them stand out, is when somebody looks at it, even from tabletop length, they could really tell that, oh my god, how many rivets is on this guy, and you did every single one. So, you know, just take your time with it. Have fun with it. It doesn't have to be rushed. So now I'm just going back over with that lighter highlight green. It's really watered down, so when it dries, it transitions really well to like the coat underneath it. And just because there's so little of it on this model, I didn't really do more than 2 layers. Usually I'll do 3 or 4, but it wasn't really required for this particular model. And now just a little bit of wash on the base to make it look more grimy. If you're wondering why the base is just black and white, I just wanted it to contrast the colors of the characters really well, so you're not distracted by the base. Okay, and here I finally realized there's a chunk missing on the bottom of his knife, and I just thought it was like a little pommel, but it's a big, beautiful skull. So I didn't want him to be without that, so I found a Tyranid head, chopped it to size, put a little piece of metal wrapping around the jaw, and we're gonna call that good for his pommel. Normally I wouldn't bother with it, but you know, it's kind of like a nice piece of his knife. It's kind of a thing you look at, so I didn't want to be without it. So that was our little what moment. But it's getting good. Getting there. And so now that it's dry, just that skeleton horde on the skull, like we did for the other one, so it matches. And we're getting real close now. So on this step, I'm just catching again everything that I didn't catch. Every little ring, every little piece between ammunition, little bits on the squigs I kind of forgot, little highlights on the squig that I needed an extra color with, you know. Just kind of finishing her up, making her look good. So, here's the part of concern when it comes to Gaz's banner. I love the old 90s model, but look at this guy. Look at that face. Look at that artwork. Look at that little thing on his shoulder. Yeah, you see it. So, my inspiration instead was an effigy of Gork, and I love the artwork that was in the last 2 codexes. The only thing I'm really going to change up for the people that are really familiar with their codex is in the newer edition codex, it might have been the 8th edition, Gork is represented as the blue effigy, and Mork is the orange-red effigy, and I don't know, for everybody that's ever built a Gorkanaut or a Morkanaut or has seen the other artwork that GW puts out, Gork is usually the red one, and Mork is usually the blue one. So just based off the fact that he's in red armor, he's a goth, they worship Gork, I just couldn't bring myself to do the color palette in blue. So I'm doing the red effigy instead of the blue effigy. But my process is I'm gonna I drew it with pencil, real light. I used the reference from the codex, and then just simply blocked in the colors like where I wanted the basic colors. And then what I'm gonna do is just transition the lightest to the darkest using stippling, little tiny dots, little tiny scratches, and then as we build up the colors closer and closer to like how we want it to look, I'm going to go in and just add details and just go back and forth. I need more red here, I need more yellow here, I need more mid-tone here, I want to leave blank spaces where the teeth are. And so this is very much so just a back and forth process. Up until this point, everything we've done on the model took me about 6 hours worth of painting, maybe 8 hours, but that's with record time with the camera and the audio and stuff. Writing me a simple script out and layout. But this this entire painting is going to take us about 8 hours by itself. So just be aware that this wasn't just a simple thing that I threw together in an hour or two. Did take a fair amount of drawing, layout, making sure everything was gonna, the paints were gonna work on this tiny little canvas. So don't think that this was just like me popped it down in an hour. But that's the process, just back and forth, stippling, up, down. Gonna edge highlight just to make it look pretty, but there she is. So this is my interpretation on Gaz's banner. I just could not bring myself to do that 90s banner. I mean, I could have maybe redid the soldier like in a battle scene or something, but that'd have been a project all by itself. So would you loot that? So here are our glamour shots. Just giving you the full round look. I love the contrast between the characters and that base. The base says ruined city, rubble, but the characters standing on it are so loud and proud. They are bright, right? Just the way a 90s orc should be. Here is him opposed to his counterpart, our modern Gaz with the same base size. And there is our fella looking all dapper and pretty all by himself. If you like this video, feel free to follow, like, subscribe. I actually have a t-shirt shop that is my 9 to 5 business. If you'd like to see it, go to TeePublic and look up Paint Chips. You'll be really doing me a favor. And if you like what you saw here, you might like some of the products I have. And all hail Gork, and I will see you next time.